I absolutely think that the document process here is a sure sign that we don't trust our people.
You just take the order, don't ask what the order's about. Wait, and I've laid pipes before and I've built things before. I know how to build things, but I don't know how to articulate it.
There's a big difference between being safe on paper and actually being safe in an environment.
Where else do we study failure and expect to get performance improvement? It's like saying, oh, we'll study the team that got relegated to B grade in the hope that we'll beat the premiers.
They're doing the job anyway, whether we give them the paperwork or not.
Workers have the best intention. They're not trying to go out there to get hurt. We're all humans and accidents happen.
We look after each other. You know, we actually do look after each other. We don't need to do this. You know, there must be another way that we can do it.
Our primary operations at Queensland Urban Utilities is to enrich the quality of life through delivering clean drinking water and to take away the wastewater produced every day and return that to the environment at the highest possible standards or recycle it. We deliver the services across Brisbane, Ipswich, Scenic Rim, Somerset and Lockyer.
Clean water and reliable sanitary services are the two biggest contributors to the quality of life that we enjoy in developed countries versus developing countries.
So Queensland Urban Utilities employs just over 1,000 people.
Some of our services are delivered through contractors. There's probably as many contractors doing work for us as there are internal employees, if not more. It's quite an involved process, a lot of moving parts.
We were formed through merging 5 water businesses. We had lots of different cultures in the 5 water businesses and different ways of doing things.
If I put it in the context of safety, the culture 5 years ago was very different to what it is today. It was very much focused on statistics and things like number of injuries or lost time injuries and trying to drive that figure down.
People sat behind desks writing rules, procedures, expecting them to be followed without knowing the intricacies of the job.
We were asking people to be open, but at the same time there was this underlying concern that if I did do the wrong thing, that wouldn't be taken well by the organisation.
A very heavy compliance way of doing things is certainly the way to not get trust.
We had a pretty hefty blame type culture when it came to indiscretions against policy and procedure.
The old approach that we had, that I was part of 5 years ago, was very much that if you have an accident, you must have done something wrong.
I thought I was the most enthusiastic person about safety until I met Kim Bancroft.
With Kim coming on board with our safe, simple way of doing things, it's been a breath of fresh air.
So when I first arrived at Urban Utilities, I found some really good, solid safety practices in place. I also found an executive leadership team who were somewhat frustrated with the relationship between operations and the safety team. I also found a really large appetite for change. They were probably looking for what was the next contemporary approach to safety. They weren't too sure what that looked like or how to get there. One of the first things I did was went and did an in-depth discovery process to find out what were the things that were working and what wasn't working in safety. What the sticking points were for the guys, what were the things that were really frustrating them when it came to safety and what we were asking them to do. So from there, I was able to design the change initiative, and that's when I started to bring in the ideas around safety differently. I then got into contact with a number of different thought leaders, and I started inviting them to come to Urban Utilities to share their concepts, which really helped direct our thinking and helped challenge a lot of the core beliefs that were no longer serving us.
Doing safety differently is about decluttering and decentralizing and devolving. Decentralizing meaning the client gives the work and the trust to the contractor. It says you decide whether you want to wear the hard hats or not. Devolving means pushing the work and the decisions about work and the authority to make these decisions as close to the front line as possible so that it sits with the people who do the dangerous and dirty work. Decluttering, getting rid of the procedures that really don't add anything to your safety but just get in the way of doing work.
Decluttering is huge for us as a business. We have a bloated safety management system. It's very additive. It's so easy to add to your safety management system, add another procedure, add some more training. So at the moment we're decluttering our pre-task risk assessment, our SWIMs, our policies, our procedures, our whole safety management system.
My role is really trying to unpick and declutter some of the things that aren't necessarily helping the worker at the end of the day.
Our policy exists as a document, a Word document. I can guarantee none of the guys are going to go read that, and why would they? So what we did, just really simple things like turning that policy into a visual policy and sticking that up on the safety notices.
If you declutter and you engage your people in that, you begin a safety to mindset shift.
We've really given an opportunity for workshopping for HSRs and for frontline leaders and managers and area managers, so they can start to, go through the journey, that psychological understanding that you need to kind of take the leap and understand why we're doing it.
The way the field guys have responded to it is that's awesome. The simpler you can make it, the better. And by the way, can we focus on the things that really matter?
In Australia, we believe that a senior leader has all the answers and the executive leader has all the answers all the time. In reality, a leader facilitates the creation of the answer via the experts, via the team. So leaders need to understand it's a mindset shift, but also that they need to understand that their role changes quite dramatically.
The underpinning philosophy of the entire safety profession has been that organisations describe how work is done safely and people follow those rules and requirements to keep themselves and to keep others safe. And Safety Differently is a 180-degree departure from this idea.
It is a mindset shift. Safety 1 is a mindset, safety 2 is a mindset. People are a problem, people are a solution.
For managers and safety professionals to be of the new view now that they are not the ones to decide what is safe and what is not safe is very difficult for some people to believe.
Of course, there's a lot of people that don't like this at all. They don't think that we should be playing with safety because we actually put people's lives at danger. And so they feel morally compromised to be asked to do these things differently, and they're scared to do it.
They still have that shield mentality, that they need to have that form to protect them from mistakes.
People being scared to make decisions. Like they'll say, oh, that's safety's decision to do that.
What about the legislation? Someone could go to jail. Let's pull out the legislation, let's pull out the code of practice and let's see what it says. And then let's think about, well, what does that mean? What's the interpretation of that? And how does that marry up with what we're actually suggesting we're going to do? Because we actually find the two are perfectly aligned.
What we're seeing here is the nitrification part of the process. So we're using air to nitrify the ammonia that's coming into the plants. We remove the pollutants from it, we discharge it to the environment, but we also recycle water on site.
Our staff really on the front line face a lot of challenges. We undertake quite a few high-risk activities.
I was out on site observing some guys doing a task, and what astounded me is just the situation is evolving around them continuously. This is a risk at this point in time and these are the hazards, then they're into a different part of the task and the risks are different. It's not something that they can necessarily foresee.
The environment they work in is essentially uncontrolled. When they arrive on site, they don't know what they're going to.
We have a very busy sites, a lot of managing fatigue around after hours work and the overtime that's involved with doing projects and shutdowns and night works.
All those hazards around them and managing to do that safely while still keeping a solution mindset about the task that they've actually got to do is actually a real art, and things just don't go to plan. They simply don't.
We have a burst main, cast iron main is blowing. But these guys have been here 4 or 5 hours so far. Bit difficult right now because there's power and Telstra cables running on top and underneath the pipe, which has made it a bit longer than it should take. We don't want to rip any of that stuff out. It will cause a lot more harm, not only to us, but obviously the whole neighbourhood.
It's not without its challenges to try to get a whole organisation to understand an almost entirely different way of thinking about safety.
So when Kim come along and she started this new way of thinking, for 2 days of training, I didn't like her. I'm going, this is so confronting. Day 4, she put it together. I got it. And I went, right, this has value.
The training course I built from all the research. Out of the training, it becomes really obvious who the early adopters are, the people who are really passionate about it, the people who come up to you afterwards and say, I've been thinking this all along. So those people, we grouped them together. We call them the vanguard. We meet with them regularly. We upskill them in terms of their knowledge, but they're the people in the organisation who've gone forth and they're doing the micro experiments. And we're empowering and supporting them to bring about change in the areas of health and safety that they see to be really important.
So I think what Urban Utilities have done really well is to embrace the ideas of safety differently across the whole organisation.
Louise came and went through the entire course. So she took 3 days out of her schedule. All of that senior executive, they all came through and they all spent those days. You know, so the symbol that was being, that was sort of established in the business was a significant one. And as a result then, the leadership that came through following that, the example had been set. And so we had an environment where it was very, very clearly stated, without anybody saying the words, it was very clearly stated, this is what we're doing here.
So I actually think it's an ethical responsibility for businesses and leaders to create an environment of psychological safety so that people can speak about not just the mistakes they make, but the violations.
It is okay to share problems and concerns and things that are not going so well, and that you are embracing a culture of openness and authenticity and honesty.
Going out to where people are actually doing the work is one of the biggest steps in actually getting closer to receiving actual feedback.
You have to get out in the fields, you have to get out and talk to the guys. You know, you can't sit behind a desk. You need to get out there and understand the work. You know, watch them improvise, ask them when they're improvising.
What we've done now is actually treated them like the experts they are and seek to understand exactly what they need from us.
So you should look at how do things go right and trying to understand how it goes right. And also if you want to study it, it's so easy to study because it happens all the time.
When you talk to them about successful work, when you talk about the difference between work as done and work as imagined, that completely resonates with them. They get it straight away, they can help collect that data, they can talk about the frustrations. So you now have a whole new data set that's proactive, that you can then aggregate upwards and report that to your executive leaders so they can have assurance that safety is being created day in, day out in the business.
You can start doing safety differently by putting in place learning teams and work insights and these things alongside your more traditional safety practices. But you come to a point where you actually need to turn some things upside down. So you need to think about punishment and consequences around rule violation and what's just culture really going to mean for you. You need to think about how you're really going to partner with your contractors and other business suppliers in very different ways. And it's been great to see Urban Utilities both struggle and succeed with trying to make that change.
We changed a whole number of processes and procedures that assumed that people would do the wrong thing. We've started to tackle all of those. So if we really truly believe that people come to work to make a difference and that we really want to empower people as the solution, then that means a number of our policies and procedures need to change. We moved away from TRIFR and LTIFR, so we're shifting that conversation away from the high frequency, low severity events. We still have initiatives in place to deal with those, of course, but we really want to shift that conversation to the high risk work activities and catastrophic risk and the critical controls around them. We've replaced it with serious injury frequency rate. So we're concerned as to whether we're killing someone or seriously hurting individuals. And then we've replaced it with a number of different metrics around how well we are controlling our critical risks and whether our critical controls are effective or not. We've replaced it with information coming from learning teams, and we're giving them a much broader picture about safety in the business, rather than 2 metrics.
Our front-facing operators were driving this data collection and this learning, and they're bringing it back. It was the first time I had ever genuinely seen safety being driven by the ground.
What we see in the data is very clear. If you don't learn from the near misses, from the things almost going wrong, and you suppress that information by saying, oh no, don't report because we need 0, you actually set yourself up for fatalities.
So one of my employees got injured at work, so he let me know right away that he hurt his back. So I just made the phone calls that I needed to make. I was able to get him straight in to see a physiotherapist that day. Following the processes in this case actually got him immediate medical attention, and he felt right to come back to work the next day. He didn't feel like he did anything wrong. If anyone gets hurt, there's no blame put on that person.
All of a sudden, there were areas of the business where there'd been an incident and we weren't finding a culprit. People weren't getting strung up.
Now we're actually working on a partnership model, so we're engaging with our workplace health and safety representatives, we're empowering our team, we're conducting work insights in the field and learning teams, so we're actually now in a position where we're learning and changing through reviewing our successes as well as our failures.
If the worker put the safe work procedure into place, you don't have compliance issues.
They're actually appreciating the fact that they have an input and a greater understanding of what safety is all about and why we have these procedures.
They feel much more engaged, having that trusting relationship, and we feel that back as well.
The previous year we had a massive jump, about a 20% improvement in employee effectiveness, which is a measure of their engagement and their enablement. And so I think that's a really strong sign of the employees feeling more comfortable about talking to us about what's actually going on.
We have a delivery partner forum once every 2 months, and that's an opportunity for all our delivery partners to share what they're doing. We have a really strong relationship with them. We collaborate, they will share materials with us, we'll share materials with them, they'll come to our training, they came to our Safe Simple training, and then what we've done is pretty much hand in hand gone on that journey with them.
If you share that sort of idea with others in the industry and outside, you all benefit.
What we've done is been able to share resources to get our Safety Differently journey up and going and get the thing having a bit of momentum.
So when you get right down to it, what does an organization do if it does safety differently? It sets its people free because people are not the problem to control.
That change of focus of rather than people being the problem to actually people being the solution was a really big turning point for us. You know, we really do want this to be different.
We've been on this journey for about 18 months now, so we've got a lot of traction currently, so we will continue on this journey. This is not something that I've done at Urban Utilities, it's something that we have done at Urban Utilities. And yeah, I came in and introduced some ideas, so I may have been a catalyst for that, but certainly has not been an individual thing. It's not an individual success. This is about us as a whole team.
Ultimately, it is not about where the data goes and the numbers point. It is about you. Who do you want to be? You as a leader, you as an organization. Who do you want to be?
The next step is to continue to build an understanding and an excitement with the guys in the field and actually have them help us create the system that's going to be much more usable for them.
I think our enthusiasm's carrying us through and people are excited to see us, and I think that's probably different for safety.
I suppose one of the things that I find exciting about what we're doing though is that opportunity to play a part in that journey, to try and shift the mindset for the greater good of industry is really, really cool.
I see the vision, I see what we can achieve, I see what the organisation can do. So we just need the guys just to lean in and come with us.
So isn't this the coolest thing? You come up with an idea, you write some books about it, and you make a film on it, and then you get people like Kim, and they grab the idea, and they start running with it, and look at the cool things that happen.